Hello, beloveds. So I'm exploring with a different scene here, although I haven't quite mastered how to make sure that everything is seen, but I'll keep on practicing. All right, so I wanted to do this month's new moon reading, and I've been navigating between the RV, schoolwork, and everything else, possibly really poorly. And I'm okay with that. I feel like it's just part of. And so I hope that this video comes out well. And also, I'll just keep on learning how to take good video. All right, so, this new moon was a new moon in Libra, and which is really kind of beautiful. And it's also, Rosh Chodesh. And one of the things I'm looking at is, of course, the season that we're in right now. We're in Mercury retrograde as well. And some other things are retrograde. Again, I will always point you back to saltwater stars. Having said that, I guess one of the things that I'm really curious about, oh, I forgot to do something. Sorry. Is what's the messages that Great Spirit has for us in terms of what's needed, what's present, what is to be received, and what is to be released. So I have the 3 decks here. Of course, the Netivo Oracle deck is here in all her beauty. The Medicine Woman deck, which is one of my favorites. And this is a compilation of Maya Toll's beautiful. And when I mean beautiful, the books are gorgeous and the cards as well. So the crystal, I forget what it's called, but the one with the crystals, the plants, and the beasts. And the only one I remember in terms of name is the bestiary, which I think is really beautiful. Yeah, so I wanted to pull some of these. What I'd like to do really is to pull the 3 from each one and see what the messages are. So let me move this over here. And then if anything, okay, that's what's present. I like the way that happened. What needs mending? It's comfrey, and comfrey is known as a mender in the herbal world. And so I love that in this card there's a chrysalis. Look at that imagery, it's so beautiful. And the colors, of course. And I love that because in having kind of like this insect going through a stage of metamorphosis, I can't tell if it's a butterfly or a moth, but of course I wouldn't know the distinction in terms of a chrysalis. And so what I want to name about that is that I love that what needs mending is actually encased. And you see that with the chrysalis. It's actually wrapped up. So what is needing mending for you in this season? Now, between Scorpio season and Libra season, it's like both balance and depth, right? Like a depth that allows you to face both what we would consider the shadow and the light. And so let's see what we need to receive and what we need to release. Okay, and I'll pull these. Here's our receiving, here's our releasing. Okay, and so we have with what we're receiving is to be soft and listen. Blue topaz is the crystal in this particular one. Look at that imagery. I love that. And I love that, let's see if you can see the writing clearly. Yeah, be soft and listen. So in terms of how would you position yourself in this season, first of all, in order to be soft, and this is like a thing, at least for me, let me just say that for me, what I do is I actually, because I'm a Taurus moon, what's really helpful to me is to actually surround myself by soft things, literally like fabric, jewelry, whatever to me represents softness and conjures up that energy are the things that I would use in order to kind of anchor in softness. And so, and then again, you can also use blue topaz, and we see that it has all the astrological signs and the planets and the eye. And so we're really talking about being sacred witnesses in our listening. Here we have the thing that we need to release. How auspicious is digest your past, the monarch butterfly. Do you see like there's like the wings situation happening here? Look at this card. Look how beautiful that is. The monarch butterfly, release your past. And of course, you know that the process that they go through again. So let's look at this. Let me put this here. I'm sorry, I just zoomed in. Here are more chrysalis. And also in this card is the process from caterpillar to chrysalis to butterflies. So we're being called, and again, what I love about the chrysalis in these images is that it's reminding us to be sure that we're encasing and wrapping that up. And what I love about Be Soft and Listen is, what would it look like to bundle up this season and this time in things that are soft so that you can listen deeply to what's yearning, what's needing to be released, what's needing to be acknowledged, what's longing to emerge in your life. And so I love that the theme here is really powerful, right? What needs mending, and that in order for us to have mending in these areas, it's almost like we're in this huge ass cosmic accountability, responsibility season, right? And time. All the shit is hitting the fan, and it's hitting the fan intentionally so that we're able to take and align and kind of right the wrongs, although that's like a binary as well. But it's recognizing that we have come to a season where our deeds, all the things that we do, all the ways we engage are being called into accountability. And it begins with a personal accountability that then moves interpersonally and then moves communally. And so you want to look for the things that you personally need mending on and you personally need to release and digest your past. I love that, because that's the motto, kind of the anchor in my work, is that we can't just bypass it. We actually have to digest it, actually be in a process. And as we're in the process, it becomes part of the fabric and also transformed in that. But most people want to go from the caterpillar to the butterfly and never have the cocoon time, which allows you to integrate so that we're not storing up the memory in our cellular right body and in our nervous system mostly, because that's where all those memories go. They go into our nervous system and activate a very delicate trigger system. And we get triggered in ways that we're not aware, like, oh, where's that actually coming from? Why is that happening? And it's because it's been integrated into your nervous system. And not even integrated, it's been deposited into your nervous system because you've never dealt with it. It's time to deal with the things that need mending in your life. It's time to release through digestion. Not right, it's a process. It's not like this once and done deal. Let me make sure these cards are angled. I mean, it's so hard to know how to do this with a camera and not my phone. So let's get some cards from. These are tarot cards, right? The Medicine Woman deck are more tarot cards, so tarot card oriented. So let's see what the tarot has to tell us about this. And in that way, we're getting really complete information, and also like ways that we know that we're going to move with this energy and move with this work, right? It's like, oh, okay, this is the next level thing, right? Here we go. Okay, we have the Justice card. What like in this oracle deck, or in this tarot deck, this tarot deck, this would be the Justice card in traditional tarot, but balance in this one. And when we're talking about balance, this particular card holds the energy of restoring and replenishing. And I love that down here. Here's a look at the card. Down here, you see all that's holding up the earth, right? Holding up the pasture. Reciprocity is a huge and intricate part of justice. The way, and what I mean by reciprocity, I mean the cycle of the give and take, the cycle of the putting and taking. And when those cycles have maxed out, which is where we're at, then it all comes, like, it all is shown, and all of it is like manifested, where you see the inequity, where you see a dysfunctional, if you will, or an unregulated ecology, right? And that's the time that we live in. And so part of our balancing, and I don't use the word balance often myself, just because I think it's so trapped in so much shit, and we often think that it is balance is like an even thing, and it's not an even thing. Balance is the act of trying to negotiate, like reciprocity with all the things that we do, and in an alignment, and it's a verb, right? It's not like this static thing. So here we have the Justice card, restoring and replenishing. Again, the question is, what needs mending? What needs mending is justice. What needs mending is restoration. What needs mending is the replenishing, the entire ecology. So again, we're going to take this personally, we're going to take it interpersonally in our relationships, and then we're going to take it communally. The next card of what we're receiving, I love this. So this card is the Empress card, and in this particular deck, it is called Bounty. Again, nourishing yourself, enhancing your strong points, again, back to like personal, interpersonal, and communal. So in this card, there's nourishment happening. Also, the Empress conjures up the energy of this like sovereignty and this way of being in the world. But what I love about this particular deck is that all you see in these images is right relationship. Right relationship with the self, right relationship with nature, right relationship with food, with growing, with harvest. Really, really important. So when you're being soft and you're listening, and I love that the energy of the mother is conjured here, because again, when we're talking about that softness, the gentleness that allows you to lean into a place of tenderness. One of the things that I find interesting about this particular energy, about being soft and listening, and the Empress, the bounty energy, is that this is really about how we can be tender enough so that we're safe enough with ourselves and with others, and trust is developed to be able to show our fullest selves, to be able to show what needs mending, to be able to be in relationship in that way. And to me, that is a really powerful thing. In my own experience, there has been, let me turn these because I'm trying to make sure that you can see them. There's the experience of learning to trust yourself, or learning to acknowledge when you've betrayed yourself so much so that you don't know how to trust yourself. And I think it's really important for us to be able to do, again, how will we know or be able to work in reciprocity, restoration, and replenishing in our both personal and societal and collective, as in the earth and the skies as well, reciprocity and healing and alignment, right? Like, and healing again is one of those tricky words. How can we work on that if we're not listening and learning to lean into our own relationship with ourselves, to trust ourselves enough to show up in these ways to mend the things that have been misaligned? Whether you've inherited or you've been the person that has like lived that out or actualized that, right? Those are either or, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is that you're able, with softness and gentleness and with the energy and a spirit of bounty, which is what you're receiving and what's available to us right now, to do the mending work in order to restore and replenish the ecology of ourselves, our relationships, and our community and the world, in order to really be able to rest in the space, right? Like to have this as a lived experience. In releasing, you have to digest your past, because as a society, the accountability comes in when we also digest the past, when we acknowledge the things that need mending rather than bypassing them or moving quickly. Digestion doesn't work like that. And often if your digestion is acting up, you need to take stuff that support, like the building up of the bacteria that help and the enzymes that help digest food. So surprise, if your shit is jacked up, you're called to really work on your digestive system. And we can even go further, that your digestive system being amok can be in direct relationship to not being able to really process our feelings and them being stored in our nervous system. So let's see what card comes out. Here we go, the trickster. Digest your past. And then we have, which is the devil in this particular card. And what I love is what it really digs in this particular thing is the idea of illusions, the idea of really looking at things solely from a subtractive place, right? A negative place where we only see that particular aspect. We only see things from a place of lack, of scarcity, not just because it has been a lived experience and it's real. So it's not one of those where you just need to change your mind. Oppression's a real thing. People are having a real experience, and what we need to be able to tend to is what is actually the truth about that. The truth about that is that as a community, we can do way better, way more for each other than what we're doing. And so the trick is that we're alone in this, and that we're going to go destitute, we're going to lose, we're going to be left. So let me show you what this card looks like close up. You see the person walking away, right? It's like everything is perceived from a place of subtraction versus a place of integration, a place of like looking at, okay, what is actually happening is that, which happens, right? Like with trauma, when you have a lot of experiences, the tendency is to actually only see the world in that way. It's a lens, and it informs all the ways we move. And while I'm not into that whole like, just moving through it or like, the power is in your mind. There is power in your mind. There's also power in your experience and power in your body. So it's not just a one-dimensional thing. It's not just a matter of your thoughts. And I just put up a post on my social media about the worship of thoughts as a society, right? There's also like clearing out energetically all the ways those things have impacted us, all the ways that we have been impacted on a personal and interpersonal and a collective level. So here, this is what we're releasing. We're releasing the lack of digesting, the lack of moving through, the lack, period. But also that the oppression has shaped us in such a way that we only experience one of two binaries. We're either bypassing it all and everything's always okay and dandy, or on the other side of that, nothing is. Each of those things lack the digestion process, lack actually integration, actually moving through, actually facing things. And so when we're not doing that, when we're not being soft and listening, right, and being in the space of bounty and alignment, when we're not doing justly to ourselves and with others, right? When we're not tending to what is mending, or, in Comfrey's case, it's one of those where you can grab the leaf and you can mash it up and you can use it to wrap. When we're not cushioning these particular places, it's almost like a cold turkey kind of thing, right? Like you're doing something cold turkey, which sends a message to your nervous system that we're not safe. And so to be able to wrap yourself up, as again, we see the chrysalis, as we wrap ourselves up in support, as we wrap ourselves up in the things that help us to anchor, help us to ground, help us to process, we're able to move through these things in a really powerful way. So let's do the Nativo Oracle deck and see what priestessing energy is coming through for us, so that we're able to again integrate this, right? Which is a wonderful and beautiful thing. A wonderful and beautiful thing. Okay, so here we are. And I love this. Look at that. So here it goes. What needs mending? Justice needs mending, restoration and replenishing, balance. And here we have Ima, the mother. Embody the courage to love others. So here we are. This is what's present. This is what's needed. This is what the energy that we're working and moving in, right? It's really about, and here's the imagery in this, so beautiful, the elephants. The imagery in this is calling us to a place of saying, hey, what we're doing is we are actually embodying and being with love as a verb, and not just a descriptor, and not an adjective, not a noun, right? But a verb, the action of this, of the things that need mending, help us to really regulate in our systems, our experiences, and also so in our internal ecology and our external ecology. Because in doing this work, we're embodying the courage to love, not just others. I want to also presence, like the earth. I also want to presence, right, the cosmos. Let's pull out, what are we receiving? I love this. Look at this. Embrace the fullness of your power. Give your the queen, the empress, and be soft and listen with blue topaz. So I welcome you to get blue topaz if that makes sense to you. But look at this. Come now. Come and register that look on her face. She ain't playing. She's clear that her power is actually sourced from this particular energetic beacon, from the place of an empress, from the place of being soft and listening. And that being soft and listening, and I don't mean soft, sometimes we think soft and we think, people whose voices are low or whose demeanor is very like, there's any other words I use are just like it's setting up the word to mean that. But gentleness and tenderness are embodied in softness, and so this is teaching us that softness can look like this, because softness is power. And softness doesn't mean that one is, just low-spoken or whatever, right? It means that we are embodied and in personal alignment with energy in a way that's generative and nourishing. Let me pull out the last card. I just noticed my battery's low. So let me make sure. So the last one is the Ohevet, which is behold, present, and connected. It is the lover. Look at this shit. So what's going to happen when you start leaving and releasing and digesting, and being able to see the tricks, right? The illusions, the places of entrapment, you're going to step into a space that in releasing those things, this is what you're anchoring in. This is what you're accessing. You're accessing the lover, and the look on her face, the position of her hands, all of it is relish and savor. So I want to invite you in this month, in this new moon, which, we're like, 2 days in, but in this season, to really allow yourself to center this, receive this, release this, right? And I think that as we step into that, we'll be creating shrines of our own inhabitation, of the inhabitation of the divine and spirit. And when we're in a place like that, even challenges, change texture and form. And so here it is, my friends. Here we go. I hope that this reading was enjoyable, and I will continue to work on, excuse me. Sorry. I didn't mean sorry. excuse me, and thank you. I hope that this was nourishing to you, and I hope that it offers you an anchor during the season as we move through from this new moon to the next new moon, and also the full moon in between, and really being present with all that is available and also emerging. But I think it's also important to be able to name and look at what's going away. So what's being released, right? And that's these cards. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios, mi gente.